Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to Creating Careers, the nursing webinar. Thank you for joining us today. I'm going to quickly talk through a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'll hand over to my colleague Leon to run through the plan for the next hour. And if everyone who isn't presenting or speaking at any point can keep their cameras and microphones off, we're expecting quite a few people on the call today, so it just helps us with the bandwidth and making sure that everyone can hear and access everything. You have got a chat box. You can get onto that chat box. It's just at the bottom of your screen. It's a little message bubble that says chat. Please pop any questions that you would like answered in there, and we'll be really happy to answer those with our speakers as well. So I'll hand over to Leon to run through what it is we're actually doing today.
Lovely, thanks Sarah. Good afternoon everybody and welcome to Creating Careers episode 2, and hopefully that you've all had an opportunity to watch the launch video back. If not, the links and so forth are in the Google Classroom and also on the Padlet that's linked to that. So please, obviously, if you get a chance, go and watch that. But here we are this evening, our first evening session of this 15 episode program. And we have a jam-packed hour, and hence why I'm speaking at 100 miles per hour. I'm the Youth Development Manager for Health Education England, and I support the Northwest in looking at careers and engagement across the Northwest and how we can encourage more and more people into the variety of health and social care careers that we have on offer across our fantastic Northwest. And through this programme today, as I say, we're going to be putting a spotlight on mental health nursing and also nursing later on in our breakout rooms, which we'll explain as we go along. But basically, regardless of where you're from, there is support available through this programme. So it's basically moving on to the next slide. And this programme is more than one day. And although it is a 1-hour webinar per month, what we're looking to develop is a professional network where you can gain the support that you need regardless of which health and social care career that you're thinking of, and also give you the opportunity to explore the variety of roles available and how they interlink and how they support this massive infrastructure, which is obviously health and social care, the NHS, primary care, secondary care, and all these different terms that you will hear about. We will be on hand to support you, and both through our fantastic Uni Connects across the Northwest and ourselves as health and social care ambassadors and leads and careers advisors, we can support you in what you want in terms of your journey. Next slide, please, Sarah. Okay, so without further ado, for those of you that obviously joined us for the launch, that's fantastic. And if you haven't had a chance to have a look at the launch material, this is also an opportunity for you to do a little bit of a learning segment within our 1-hour webinar. Thanks very much. Leslie Ann.
Hi everyone, my name's Leslie Ann, as you can see on the screen there. So I'm the cruel individual who keeps setting pre-work for these sessions. Now their pre-work is designed to ensure to help you prepare for each of these sessions, to help you digest what you're going to learn in this session. It's to help you reflect and think about relevant and appropriate questions that you can ask during this session. So we want to ensure that you've got feedback for any pre-work that you do before our sessions. So what we're going to start doing at the beginning of each Creating Career session, I was doing a 10-minute interactive pre-work feedback session, and it's going to take the form of a Zoom quiz. Okay, so some questions are going to come on the screen. We've got 5 questions, and what I want you to do, if you just concentrate on me rather than the questions for now, please. I'm going to go through them one at a time. So the answers actually don't come up to the end, but I'm going to go through each question one at a time, talk you through them, and encourage you to answer them. And also, please get involved in the chat. Explain your answers in the chat. There's some media questions that I want to know what your thoughts and feelings are. And that's just so we can check that you've taken away all the key points from the pre-work that we wanted you to, and given you the opportunity to clear up anything that you're not sure about. Please get involved. The more interactive this is, the more you and all the other, your other fellow students will get out of this. Even if you're not sure about something, write it down, share it with people, because another student will probably be thinking something similar, and you will help them by putting it out there. No one is testing you, no one is checking scores, not at all. This is just to check, basically for you, to make sure you've got the most out of the pre-work you possibly can, and that everything, all the key messages that we want you to get are there ready for this brilliant session. Okay, so for the first part of the pre-work, we asked you to look at the recording of our launch episode focusing on mental health and psychological careers. So we asked you to look at a part of that recording which focused on 1 million mentors. Okay, they offer mentoring to young people on a one-on-one basis monthly. So we were trying to get you to look at that session and think about what mentoring is and what the benefits of it are. So if you look at your quiz, that should be on your screen now. I just want you to focus on question 1 for now. And I want you to look at question 1. We're going to go nice and easy, and then we'll get a little bit meatier. So question 1, mentoring is all about getting a job. So based on your pre-work and what even if you were naughty and didn't do your pre-work, have a go, you can only benefit. So question 1, mentoring was all about getting a job, true or false? So answer that question for me, and then what I'd like you to do is let's get some interactivity rather than just like sitting on the screen and watching. So in the chat, explain to me why you've put true or why you've put false. Is mentoring just about getting a job? If it is true, put in the chat, tell me why. If it's false, tell me why. Come on, I want to see that chat buzz, and don't leave me sat here awkwardly just talking to myself, hoping people are going to interact with me. So is mentoring all about just getting a job? True or false? Come on, let's get that chat buzzing. Anyone want to start us off? Anyone at all? True or false? Brilliant, Nadia, thank you so much. Fantastic. So it is false. Mentoring is about dealing with every aspect of your life, not just your job. And thank you for being brave and putting your first explanation on there. That's wonderful. Okay, so question 2, nice and easy again. Mentoring is for people of all ages. Is that true or is that false? Put your answer, explain your reasoning in the chat. Is it true or false? Is it just for young people to help them starting off, or can anyone at any age access mentoring? Give you a little moment to dwell on that and put your thoughts and feelings in the chat so we can share it. Remember, if you sorry, is just someone talking then? Oh, that's a mistake. Okay, yeah, it's for all ages, going through different stages of life. Thank you, Nadia, for putting that in. That is absolutely spot on. It's not just for young people, it's for any point in your life. I know there's been points in my life as an adult where I could really do with a little bit of help and mentoring and advice. And going back to question 1, it's not just about your career, it could be about your mental health at that point, it could be about any problems you've got. So please don't just think mentoring is for this point in your life. You can access it throughout your career's journey or personal journeys. So question 3, this is a meatier one now, and I really would like you to get your thoughts and feelings into the chat with this one. So are you interested in being mentored? So thinking about everything that you've looked at in that pre-work section that we asked you to review from what 1 million mentors shared with us, are you interested yourself in mentoring? You've got 3 options: yes, not sure, no. Got 3 options there. Click one of the 3 options and then let me know in the chat why you've chosen yes, why you've chosen no, why you've said you're not sure. Okay? Is there something holding you back? Share your thoughts. Is there something that you're like, yeah, definitely because of X, Y, and Z? Share your thoughts. If you're not interested, tell us why. Okay, so just give everyone a moment to answer and share their feelings. Come on. Don't be shy. Okay, brilliant. So Diane, yeah, brilliant. So you'd like interested in mentoring just to gain more knowledge. Anyone else want to share any feelings about why they'd be in, or wouldn't? Anyone who wouldn't be interested in mentoring want to share why? I know some students in the past might think that. I've heard feedback from students saying they're not interested in mentoring because they find that, you know, they don't need it, or they think it's a little bit embarrassing. There's nothing embarrassing about it at all. In fact, it gets you a leg up ahead of other people who haven't got that amazing information. Brilliant, Sharon. It's a valuable way to learn from others. Fantastic. So the reason why we wanted you to focus on mentoring in the pre-work is because we offer as Creating Careers, part of our offer is mentorship over a 12-month period. So we can support you in your journey along health and social care, career options, along your journey of choosing what's the best next step for you. And Leon will go through more information about that at the end of the session, and all information about that is also in the pre-work. So make sure you're looking at the pre-work, and all the mentoring options that you can have in your region is all there for you to look at. Okay, so the next stage of the pre-work, we wanted to prepare you for this session today. So we wanted you to look at nursing and mental health nursing in particular. Now, this is a bit of a chunkier question, so I really would appreciate if people get their ideas in the chat and share their thoughts and feelings on mental health nursing. So I asked you to look at mental health nursing and what their life is day to day and compare it to adult nursing. Now, I'm interested to know what you think from the pre-work is the most important skill that a mental health nurse needs in their job. So I've got some options to help you. So it could be a communication skill.
Yesterday was supposed to be.
So a communication, just to make that clear, communication is getting a message, an idea or an instruction over to someone else and they understand what you mean. So is communication the most important skill that a mental health nurse needs? Or is it interpersonal skills that is different, slightly different to communication skills, your ability to socialise and get along with people, work in a team? Or do you think the skill of making decisions is more important? Or the skill of managing people, managing yourself, managing your patient, managing a team? So as a mental health nurse, what would you say is the most important skill that they need based on your pre-work? Communication, interpersonal, or decision making, or management? Or have you got another skill that you can add? So Nadia, you've said interpersonal. That's brilliant. Can you tell me why? Why do you think interpersonal skills are the most important for mental health nurses? And anyone else, put your thoughts and feelings on the chat. Obviously, you've clicked on the poll to tell me what your answer is. Explain it in the chat so we can share with other people. Remember, you're helping your fellow students too by sharing your feelings. I'll just give you a few moments to share your ideas. Okay, brilliant, Sarah. Thank you so much. So communication, as you think some people may be in danger, so therefore you've got to communicate really important instructions to people and make sure people understand what you want them to do. Okay, Nadia, you've talked about interpersonal skills, so you can feel the other person, you can get to know what they're going through, you'll be able to help. You do really respond to people if you think they're understanding how you feel and they care about where you're up to. Okay, brilliant. Again, thank you so much. The chat's flowing now. Communication, clear messages can be passed on to others. It can be easier to help if you can talk to other nurses. Brilliant. Again, interpersonal is coming up, so you can support someone and gain their trust. Okay, thank you so much for interacting on that one. It seems to be in general that we're choosing interpersonal skills or communication skills. So I'm going to take you on to the last question. So if you scroll down on your poll and go to the last final question. So considering everything we've learned in the pre-work, we've thought about mentoring and how important it is and how you can access mentoring now through Creating Careers using the links in the pre-work. We've talked about what skills mental health nurses need. Are you interested in a career in mental health services, such as mental health nursing? So you've got three options: yes, not sure, no. So again, get your thoughts in the chat. Is working in this area something that appeals to you? Get your ideas in the chat. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just really interested to see what your thoughts and feelings are, what your opinions are in this area. Would you like to work in mental health services, such as mental health nursing? Okay, thanks for that, Abby. So we've got a few not sure answers. Let us know why. Is there something about this sector that holds you back? Is it that you feel that you need to know more about this area? Because that's interesting for us, for our planning. You just get a few thoughts. Everyone's been a little bit shy on their career choices. Maybe it's feeling a little bit personal. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll leave it there because for this session. Thank you so much for people interacting with me. Hopefully, if we go along through the Creating Careers sessions, we'll be able to get more and more interactive on these elements of the episodes. Now, what we'll do is Abby will just very quickly put all the answers up so you can see in general how people have answered. You can see them all there. Thank you so much for answering. I hope you found that useful. If you have any questions at all about the pre-work, anything you didn't understand, anything you'd like to have more information on, I will put my email address in the chat now. Please send anything to me and I'll get that answered for you. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leslie, and thanks everyone for getting really involved with that. That was brilliant. We're going to move on to the sort of Ask Us Anything section. So we're going to speak to two current mental health nurses. We've got some questions for them that we think are useful for you to know the answers to. But if you do want to know anything else, please do pop it in the chat. We'd rather you got what you want to know out of this event, really. So Cherie, are you happy to go first?
I'm on mute. I do that all the time. Yes, I'm happy to go first. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great. So would you be able to introduce yourself to everyone on the call today and tell them a little bit about what your job title is and what your role entails?
I can. So again, thanks to Aya. Hello everyone for being here. I'm Cherie. I'm actually a second year mental health student at John Moores University, but I'm also a nursing assistant for working for Merseycare NHS Trust. So what I do, apart from obviously studying to be a nurse, is I actually work in psychiatric hospitals across the trust. They're known as secure and specialist learning disability divisions. And what that is my job is to support and look after patients who've been admitted into hospital because they're unable to look after themselves because they've got some sort of mental illness and they just need a bit of extra support. And what I do in the job, I'll talk about that a little bit later on in one of the questions.
I got stuck on mute there. Real thank you. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about how you kind of got into your career, so the pathways you took, the qualifications, and maybe a little bit about why you picked that specific route?
Yeah. So I actually decided to go back to university when I had my son at 35. So it wasn't something I'd decided to do when I was young. It only came later on in life. But prior to that, I went to school and did GCSEs. I went straight on to sixth form and I'd done A-levels, and then I went on to university to study biology, but I still didn't really have an idea of what my career path was going to be. So during all of the studying, I sort of worked in lots of different industries, such as sales, customer service. I worked as a support worker, and then I ended up working as a healthcare assistant in the health and social care industry. So I did a lot of agency work, and I worked many, many hours doing home visits, working in residential supported living, looking after people with disabilities, mental health issues, so very varied really. And then I actually ended up working in finance for just under 10 years, which is a massive difference again. So I had a lot of a sort of very mixed background in work. And it was only after 10 years after I had Noah, my son, I decided that I wanted to do something, and I looked at all the jobs that I had, and I sort of combined all the experience that I got from them, and I decided to go back and study my nursing. So I got GCSEs and I got A-levels, and then I went, as I said, I studied biology, but you know, it wasn't anything I wanted to do, but it was because of all of these qualifications that I'd had that was able for me to make a career path into nursing. Because I had my GCSEs in maths and English. I had some background in sciences, so I did biology, physics and IT, and then I got my A-levels in physics and biology and IT as well. So that was sort of a really good step to be able to move into the health and social care sector. And as I say, it was the experience that I got through the jobs as well that made me go into nursing, because all of them combined, along with the qualifications that I got, as again, it said, helped me move into the health and social care jobs, like working as a healthcare assistant, because within the job itself, you then get training to do like moving and handling, basic life support, safeguarding. And again, these are all attributes that you use towards your nursing career. So I think that all these jobs, all these qualifications is why I decided to have an interest and move forward into nursing, really.
Above 10 years in finance, that must
I know, I know, so random.
So in the kind of role that you're in now and doing everything, what does a typical day look like for you? You know, if one of our students was able to follow you around for the day, what would they see?
Yeah. So my day working in the psychiatric hospital starts at 7:30 in the morning. So it is an early start, but you don't mind, to be honest, because it's such a varied day. So in the morning when we get on shift, we have a handover from the previous shift. So that would be the night shift if you're working days. And what that handover is, it's a debrief of basically a recap of what happened on the previous shift. So the staff nurse in charge will go through patients, in the individual patients, and let you know about their current state, whether they've had any incidents, whether there's anything that needs to be done that day. So that would be appointments, any plans, if they've got any visits, if they are going out anywhere, or if they've got any meetings with the mental health team, basically. So once a week, the patients will have it's called an MDT, and it's a multidisciplinary team meeting. And this is a meeting where all of the people involved in the patient's care, like psychiatrists, social workers, psychiatric nurses, ward physiotherapists, family members, everybody that's involved in that patient, once a week we would get together and have a meeting and discuss how the patient is progressing. So if we went on shift, we might have an MDT booked in that day. So once we've done the debrief, we then get allocated tasks. So we have an allocation, daily allocation, because we have to do what's called observations for our patients. Every patient has to have observations just to make sure and check on them every half an hour. Some patients will have every 15-minute checks because they might need a little bit of additional support. That could be because they have physical health issues or they're just not very well at the moment. They might have had a bit of a decline in their mental state. So we just want to get them and provide them with a little bit more support. And then we have other patients that need to have one-to-one. So that means they've got a nurse or a nursing assistant with them all throughout the day. Now, they don't have to be with them physically next to them, but we just have to make sure we can see them and they can see us. So if there is any issues, they've got somebody that they can come to. So we have our allocation set out in a day of who's doing what observations and what time. And then we have other allocations that we need to do. So we have to do medications for the patients. This is generally about 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, or 2 o'clock, 6. We also have to support them with lunches. So they have lunch and dinner. And we have to go out and make sure that security checks are done for cutlery, making sure that what we've given out is what we receive back. So we have all these other jobs that are specific to the day. And then when we're not on allocation or observations, we then have time that we can go and spend with the patients. So we will do activities, we'll play pool, we'll play basketball, we'll cook, we'll take them out into the community. So it's a bit like being at home with your mates, but on a more serious level, because you're having to just take care of them, really, because you're just having a bit of fun. You're having activities throughout the day and they're enjoying it. And obviously then you've got some one-to-one as well with the patients. And on these one-to-ones that you have, they're able to talk to you about things that they might not necessarily want to speak about when they've got people around them. So it gives you that opportunity to have that personal time with the patients so that they can open up a bit more. And then apart from medication rounds and the lunches, once we've done all our allocation, towards the end of the day, about 6:30, 7 o'clock, we start settling down. We write up our notes. We do everything on Rio, which is the emergency care reporting system. And that just basically is a run through of the day, how each patient's been, how their mental state's been, any issues we've had, how they presented on the ward and things like that. And it's just to give an overview so the next person on shift can come in and see how the day's gone. And it's all there written in paper. And then at 7:30, I go home and it's great.
That sounds really varied. If you had to pick between the kind of allocations, observations, and the one-to-one time, which bit you prefer?
Well, personally, I don't mind. I mean, I do like having some free time, because when you're doing back-to-back observations, sometimes you can get a bit mentally tired because you're having to make sure what everybody is, and it can be a bit draining. So it's nice that during the day, the allocation is actually separated with gaps between. So if you do have an hour where you haven't got any allocation, you can then just maybe go out to the shop with one of the patients, or you can do a shop run for someone, and it just gives you that bit of a breather to recharge, really. Because it can be, you know, it can be full on. You've got 20 patients looking after, you might only have 4 or 5 staff on, and you're all having to rotate all these different jobs. So it is nice to have a varied throughout the day.
Yeah, fab. So obviously we've got all the students on the call who are thinking about following your footsteps, maybe via finance, maybe not. What kind of advice would you give them if you had to kind of give them 1 or 2 pieces of advice as they make their next steps?
So, I mean, I say this all the time. I think the best thing you can do is research the area that you might want to go into, and ask people like myself who work there, you know, what do we like about it? What's not so good about it? I mean, because I didn't realize how much I loved what I do until I actually started doing it. And I didn't really research it myself, but if I would have researched it earlier on in my life, maybe I would have made that jump a lot quicker. But yeah, so I mean, again, I know like when we did that poll, there was a lot of replies about communication, and that's a massive key in this. And you have to be able to communicate, not just with the people around you, but with the patient, and be an active listener as well. So if you're already like that person that has got groups of people that you can sit and listen to and talk to, you're on the right step to already becoming a good mental health nurse. And then again, the education side of it, just have basic maths and English. If you do have a background in science, in any science, even social sciences, and psychology, if you've got an interest in that, they're all good attributes that would be good links to getting into mental health nursing. But I just think because there's specific industries within mental health, I work in forensic, which is the psychiatric side of things. There is, Leanne will probably talk about it in a moment, which is like young people and CAMS. There is drug and alcohol. There's so many different areas you can go into. So my advice would be have a little look at all of them. Speak to people who work in them areas. If you want to do a bit of volunteering, see what's available in your area as well, because there's so much out there, and it is really interesting if it's something that you want to go into.
That actually brings me to our last question.
Okay.
What are your favourite and least favourite bits of your job?
Okay, I know, so mine's a little bit random because you'd think it would be quite boring giving out medication. But my favourite bit about medication isn't about the medication, it's about actually seeing everybody one-to-one. Because throughout the day, we all get up at different times, we all do different things, we've all got different timetables. So at least when it comes to medication rounds, I get to see every patient, and that enables me to then have a quick catch up with them and see how they've got on from the previous week. Because I only work 1 day a week as well, because I'm studying, I miss out on like what's happening with them. So I like to have that catch up, and if I don't get to see them in the day, at least I know I'm going to get to see them on the meds round, and I'll be able to have a quick catch up and see what they've been up to, and how their progression has moved from week to week. So that's my favourite part of the day. And the least favourite part of the day is when, because we do have a lot of patients that do go out in the community, and sometimes they might not come back when they're supposed to. So unfortunately, when that happens, we do have to take away some of their freedom. So the what do we call it? Their leave, their escorted leave might be reduced so that they can only go down to 1 or half an hour a day. And having to tell somebody it's not nice, but it's about their progression. It's about moving forward, so that they can get the security and the stability to be able to then move out into the community on a permanent level. So having all of these rules in place are there for a reason. And unfortunately, sometimes we've got to restrict their access to be able to make them understand that if you keep to the rules, you're going to get out of here quicker. So that's my least part of the day, but it doesn't happen all the time. I've got to make sure that you understand that it is just sometimes, but that's the only thing that I don't like about my job.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. Guys, if you do want to pop any questions in the chat, we can come back to those in a little minute. And in the meantime, I'll ask Leanne a couple of questions. Thank you so much.
Guys.
Hiya.
Hey, Leanne. So would you be able to tell us a little bit about your job and what it entails?
Yeah, so I'm very similar to Cherie. I'm a second year student mental health nurse at LJMU, so Liverpool John Moores, and I'm currently on placement at a high secure hospital in the Northwest. My ward that I work on have patients who are diagnosed with various personality disorders, who are there because they are really unwell, and they could also be a danger to themselves and a danger to others. So my role is to shadow and support the nurse in charge to deliver nursing care to our patients. This is really done through a team-led approach of many healthcare practitioners coming together to meet the needs of our patients and to aid their recovery. Other placements that I've been on are psychiatric intensive care units in what we'd say normal hospitals. I've worked in the community on early intervention teams, and I've also done a general nursing placement on a stroke rehabilitation ward.
I was on mute there. That's fab. Would you be able to give us a little summary of kind of your pathway into this and the qualifications you've done before?
Yeah, not a problem. So before I became a student, I left school with probably about maybe 6 or 7 GCSE results. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I at the time was going to youth clubs, and I thought, oh, I'll volunteer there just to do a bit of spare time. And then I also attended a college studying business studies. So over the time that I was volunteering, I sort of realised I didn't want to go into business studies at all. My passion was working with young people. So I then went on to study and qualify as a youth worker, which led me to move up to Liverpool. I then became a project manager for a large charity, which consisted, of managing education resources and training that was being provided to either young people in school or to their teachers. I loved this job, but realised that the young people I was seeing were really being affected by mental health. And I'm one of these people that really need to get in and support people, not just be the person in the background. So I decided to then train as a mental health nurse, but I've always got that view that I want to go back and work with young people in the education. But I also know that both me and Cherie are quite mature students, so our routes are really different from quite a lot of other students. Mainly the students in our year, they mostly come from college, so they might do a healthcare qualification and then come to university themselves to study. They won't necessarily have the whole background that myself and Cherie have got.
Yeah, brilliant. We are going to go through a couple of those options for the students in the afterwards session, the breakout rooms. You mentioned a little bit about working as part of a team. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about how you kind of work with other NHS professionals and the different roles you come across?
Yeah, so my typical day, like Cherie's just been saying, is so similar to exactly what she says about going to do handovers with staff, having a team effort coming in and doing some of the patient care. But my whole time on placement is about teamwork. I wouldn't be able to give the care patients need without communication and working together with what's called the patient's care team. We sort of meet on regular basis, say once a week in the placement that I am. And this is where doctors, social workers, consultants, etc., discuss what treatment is needed or what we're going to offer our patients, because we don't like to say this is what a patient needs and that's all they're going to get. We like to talk to our patients about, seeing what they want from us as well. And then we sort of decide who's going to deliver this treatment. And it's always managed together. And the one thing that I'd say as well is right from domestics, so the cleaners, the healthcare assistants, any other nurses, doctors, psychiatrists, the ward cannot run without them, without all of us working together. And I always say this, they are my eyes and my ears on the ward, because I know, like what Cherie was saying, sometimes we're in the office, we're doing paperwork, we're doing Rio, the Mersey care system, and sometimes we're not on the ward. Sometimes the only time we might see the patient is when we're giving medication, or we're literally just going in saying, are you okay? Or sometimes we're going in when a patient is that distressed that we don't know why they're distressed, and it would be the healthcare's assistants that are actually telling us why they are, because they've seen it happen.
Brill, that sounds like there's a lot of you all working really tightly together.
Couldn't do it without them.
Sounds like it's a lovely team to work with as well. Would you be able to give us a little bit of an overview about what one of your days kind of might look like?
Yeah, so my day is really similar to Cherie's. So a typical day is usually like a 7 o'clock start, but because I'm in a high secure, we only usually do around 7.5 to 8 hour shifts. And what I have to do is make sure that I have to be prepared before I even enter the building, because a high secure hospital is not the same as a general hospital or a general mental health hospital. There's lots of things like we can't have personal belongings, we can't take our phone in, etc. We can't take cutlery for our lunch, you know, and sometimes there's been people that have left these in their bags and they're trying to get onto the ward and they can't, because what you have to do is you have to go through what's called security. It's like going through like an airport security. I'm always getting caught as well with regards to, you get like 10% or 20% of staff get checked anyway, and I'm always the one. I don't know what it is about my face, it must be just me. So I then, once I've got through the security, I then have to go and collect keys, because everywhere on this hospital is locked up, doors, etc. And then I'm not allowed as a student to actually walk onto the hospital grounds without an escort. So I have to wait for my escort to come and bring me to my ward. Once we go onto the wards, we have to risk assess the moment we step on there, depending on what time of day it is. Patients might be up on the ward or they might be in bed. So we go around and we will do security checks. We will make sure that the medication's all checked, because part of our role is to make sure there's safe medicating. So we need to make sure the medication is the correct temperature. We need to make sure, you know, there isn't medication missing or misplaced, etc. So we need to do that. Once we've done that, we would then go and do handovers. And like Cherie said, handovers is the most important part of the day. It's about finding out what the patients have done the day before, the shift before. You know, how are they presenting? Are they in a good mood? You know, are they hallucinating? Are they, you know, having problems not being able to communicate, etc. All of those things we need to know. So we sort of do that as a handover. That usually takes between 15-20 minutes, and then that's when the shift starts. So, and because I'm in a high secure, a lot of our patients are in what we call locked doors. So they might be in seclusion, they might be in segregation. And so the difference between seclusion and segregation is seclusion, they might be there because of behavioural issues, and segregation might be because they've been long-term secluded, or that they want to be separated from other patients on the ward, that, you know, there might be a clash that they don't get on, or it might be for their own safety, etc. So yeah, so we'd open the day, open their doors up. You know, some of them will come out for breakfast. By that time, that's the team that does that. The nurses don't generally do that. We then go on and make sure that their medication's ready, so we can do the medication rounds. And then they would maybe come out for breakfast. Again, the team is supporting that with breakfast. We might support that if some issues, because I know that Cherie has said that sometimes we have to be careful with cutlery and things like that. So we have to count the cutlery in, cutlery out, that kind of thing. We would then maybe go through trying to work out associations with our patients. And what we mean by associations is some patients, as I said, can't come out of their room because they might be a risk to others or a risk to themselves. So we still have to give these patients, you know, it's part of our duty. They should be allowed to go and have fresh air, go and attend to their personal hygiene, go and have showers, go and have baths, go and associate with other patients or other staff, you know, actually spend some time, you know, together. So we have to really regiment that in secure. We have to make sure that certain patients don't meet certain other patients. I know it sounds really controlling, that we're controlling the patient lives when I talk about it, but it really does need to be regimented because of the risk. We'd then, like Cherie said, we'd look at if there's any visits to the ward. So there might be doctors coming in, there might be occupational therapists coming in to help them with some of their activities of daily living, is what we call them, but it might be just communication skills that the occupational health will be working with. It might be, you know, going to play a game of cards and just interacting with someone. It might be that I know on different wards they go and do kitchen skills, they go and learn how to cook again, because if you think about patients that some that we work with, they might have been on the hospital grounds or the wards for quite a long time, and when you don't use a skill, you lose it. And it might be really silly saying, how can you lose a skill of making a cup of tea? You definitely can. I've seen a lot of patients that might not have even turned on a kettle for years and can't remember how to do it. So, you know, these are the kind of things that we work with. And then, like Cherie, the rest of our shift is all about paperwork, referrals to different things. We help patients out with their shopping, because they can go to what was called a canteen to go and get fizzy pop, chocolate. That's mostly what they all get actually, is fizzy pop and chocolate. They sometimes need support with telephone calls, letters to home. Some of them can't read and write, some of that things that we might do. And I'd say the majority of my shift as a student nurse, and also other nurses, is that we do a lot of one-to-one nursing care with our patients. And what we mean by that is not necessarily always what a general adult nurse would do, where it's the physical care would be, you know, dressing changes, or it would be making sure that you know, they're eating and drinking, etc. We'd still do that, but our one-to-one time is problem solving with them, talking about their emotions, looking to see, you know, how they're struggling, and then trying to help them again with their social and their life skills. And then the shift then ends with exactly the same as it finishes, with us handing over any information that's happened throughout the shift. So yeah,
that's brilliant. Thank you so much for all of that. I'll just check the chat to see if we've got any questions, but you guys ran through pretty much everything I had to ask without me even prompting, so thank you. I think that's everything, guys. If you do have anything, please pop it in the chat, and otherwise I think we'll head on to our breakout rooms. Thank you so much, Leanne and Cherie, that was amazing.
Thanks guys, bye.
Thank you. So what's going to happen now, guys, is we're going to move on to a more pathway focused section of the webinar. So in just 1 second, some breakout rooms will pop up for you. Those breakout rooms are according to region. So for example, Greater Manchester. We would just advise students to select the region that they want to go to, and then there'll be a representative in there to talk you through your local options. If you are joining us from outside of the Northwest, so there isn't a region there that applies to you, if you want to have a look at the one that you think is most interesting where you might want to study. So Abby, if you could open the rooms up.
We are open.
Oh, we are open. Brilliant. Okay, guys, join them. If you're going to the Liverpool one, I will see you there.